Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome in. It is the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, September 25th, 2025. That means it's time for another episode of the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you, and my pal from Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderame, joining me. Verderame, have we talked since the season started? Because I think you missed a week. And so
I was in Green Bay. I was in Green Bay too.
So I'm sure our listeners are all anxious to hear, if they haven't been reading your stuff over at SI, what your take is on this season so far. Not an ideal start. I know you weren't really bullish on the Chargers, and they kind of ripped this defense apart. And now you're on a hole here. Lose to a good Eagles team, and not looking great against the Giants. How are you feeling about the Chiefs this year?
Honestly, if Worthy's actually healthy and they get Rice back, fine. I don't. The AFC sucks. Like, who have you watched for 3 weeks and said they look great? They just look. I mean, the Colts. They needed a miracle to beat Denver, and they beat the Titans and the Dolphins. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I'm not exactly sitting there saying that team's going to the Super Bowl. Buffalo is really fortunate they're not 2-1 and or even potentially 1-2. The Chargers have played very well, to give them credit. Although, again, I don't like watch the Chargers and feel blown away by them. Like, they're fine. They're not a bad team. Obviously, they're playing well, but look, the Chiefs need to get healthy. They need their offense, because the first two games, the last two games, defensively, they've played very well. Like, they've defensively been fine. The first game, they weren't. I feel like some of this is now that they're playing some of their younger guys. That's been a big help. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have like this, like, oh my God. Now, listen, I will say this. If this offense, if this is the output they're going to have all year, then there's a ton of concern. But I have to imagine Worthy and Rice can back. Like, I've seen a lot of people be like, well, it's not going to fix everything. Okay, sure, but shit, I think it's going to fix a lot of things. I mean, if I took the top two players, if I took Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown off of the Eagles, I got news for you. They're going to suck on offense. Like, that's what they're going to look like. If I sat here and said, well, I'm taking Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs off the Lions, they're going to suck. Like, I do think there's something to the, if I took Adams and Nakua off the Rams, they're going to be terrible throwing the football. So, concerned, sure, in the sense that they've got to prove that they can do some things. And there are some things that are really concerning, like the running game, stuff like that. But overall, do I still think this team's going to win, like, I don't know, 11, 12 games? Yeah, probably. As long as they're healthy, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. The offense has been so pitiful, but some of the things that our main concerns heading into the season was like, how's the left side of the line going to hold up? Well, like, it's held up all right. Like, Simmons is looking good. He's making some rookie mistakes. That's going to happen. Kingsley has not been a complete disaster, which I think is what everybody was hoping for, is don't be a complete disaster. Right. And some of our friends, at Jeff Schwartz, people have been seeing improvement, incremental improvements in his game at guard. Juwan Taylor's just a complete tire fire before the snap. But all that considered, you don't have Worthy, you don't have Rice. We're right back in the same boat that we were in last year, where it was like old Travis Kelce that teams can key in on and try to take him away. And even as bad as the offense has been, they've found something in Tyquan Thornton that
Yes,
I don't know how you're not excited about the fact that they're getting deep shots with this offense the way it is right now with Tyquan Thornton, and not imagining what life might be like with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, and Travis Kelce all out on the field potentially at the same time. Someone's going to get open. Like Tyquan Thornton gets open, and nobody else can on this team. So imagine what happens when you put Worthy and Rice back in the equation.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I looked this up last night because I was trying to think. When they have Worthy back, which I'm assuming he's going to be back this week, he's practicing again today. They're going to have Worthy, Brown, and Thornton on the field, I would imagine, quite a bit together. All those guys ran 4.2 40s. All three of them. Has there ever been a team in the history of the NFL that's ever put three guys in the field that all ran a 4.2 40? And that doesn't mean they're Hall of Famers, okay? But that is a lot of speed. That is a lot of speed you have to account for in the slot and outside. That is going to create space underneath. I mean, just by the sheer nature of how you have to defend all that speed, you're going to have guys who are able to run underneath, which is why it's important that Hollywood Brown runs those intermediate routes, why Xavier Worthy shows off a more complete route tree, why Thornton isn't just a guy running a 9 route 40 times a game. That changes things. That is a ton of speed. Now, the downside is, if this was with peak Travis Kelce, I'd say, my God, the guy's going to have 140 yards a game. But we've been witnessing the first 3 weeks, like we were talking about how worried I am about certain things. This is not peak Travis Kelce. This is like base of the mountain Travis Kelce. Like, I don't even think there's an argument at this point for the fact that he's not just washed up. I don't know what the argument would be. And yeah, I'm talking about by his standards. I mean, I don't think he's going to have 300 yards this year. But by his standards, he's pretty cooked. So you don't have that underneath, hey, we can just hit this guy for 8 yards anytime we want. You might when Rice comes back. But I do think this week, assuming Worthy's back, and he should be, that speed is going to challenge a defense that is dead last in the NFL. The Ravens have been a disaster defensively, and they are missing a million guys from practice this week. I'm sure we'll touch on that. Look, I think getting Worthy back is a big deal. It's not Rice, but he's a big player. He's probably he's the second best weapon on the team. That's meaningful. That's really meaningful.
Yeah, and he's not a rookie anymore. Really started to break out a little bit at the end of last year. So I'm excited for that. My worries and concerns are, what's the team's record going to be when they get Rice back? Because they've got really hard games. As bad as the Ravens have been defensively, the Chiefs have been equally bad offensively, and you still got to play the Lions coming up here. The Jaguars are not going to be a cakewalk because they have a competent offensive coordinator over there, so they can actually do some things. It's a head coach now, but Liam Cohen, I like what he does with these teams. So we're going to dive into all of it, and we're going to answer some of the questions that are lingering out there as well in terms of what has this front office done well, and what are they, what mistakes have they made to lead the Chiefs to a 1-2 start here, which is a little uncomfortable for Chiefs fans. But I think if you've been paying attention, as long as Andy's there and Mahomes is there, this team's probably going to start winning football games. And even in the games that they lost, it's not like they got blown out or humiliated. They had a chance to win that Chargers game. And they probably could have beat the Eagles too if they had executed a little bit better.
Could have. If their tight end caught a pass that was thrown right to him, they probably would have won the game. Yeah,
it's the Kelce stuff it's a bummer. I think, he cannot be a number one anymore. He's not, and whereas he was unstoppable at one time, he is now stoppable. And so he needs to have Xavier Worthy. He needs to have Rashee Rice running around out there. And now I think he's going to start catching balls because teams are going to be like, well, we're not worried about Kelce. We're worried about Rashee Rice.
I mean, do you know where he ranks in targets right now on the Chiefs?
I do not.
Third. Tyquan Thornton has more targets than Travis Kelce, and Tyquan Thornton's 80 yards downfield every play.
Yeah.
And he has more targets. And Hollywood Brown has like 10 more targets. I think it's just time that everybody has a really honest conversation with themselves about Travis Kelce. He is one of the greatest players in NFL history at any position. He is very arguably and probably on the Mount Rushmore of the Chiefs right? Like if you had to do them out,
yeah.
just players, not coaches, not owners, just the players. It's Mahomes. It's Derek Thomas. It's probably one of their defensive players from the 60s, like Willie Lanier. That fourth spot, you can make a really – I know you probably want to say Len Dawson, but you could make a real argument. Like Kelsey's a better player than Len Dawson was. Okay, like realistically, better player. So you could make that argument. Like you could really make the argument he's right there. And there is nothing but love and admiration for the guy from anybody who's serious as a Chiefs fan. At the same point, let's just be honest. He was not very good last year. He looks worse this year. He looks disinterested at times. I mean, I've gone back and watched the All-22 film. There are times he doesn't even get off the line of scrimmage. He just stands there. The first offensive play of the Giants game, I forget if it was Thibodeau or Burns. I think it was Burns. They ran a boot to his side. He's supposed to pin down the end. He just stood there and let the guy run right by. He didn't even move. Like he just watched the guy go by him. He has had a blow up in every game so far this year on the sideline. Every game. With Andy, with Juwan Taylor. That was in the huddle, actually, but with Juwan Taylor. But the biggest concern for me in an odd way is after these games, when Mahomes talks and Andy talks, and they have to by NFL rules, by the way. But then they get in the locker room. Chris Jones talks, and McDuffie's standing there, and Juju's standing there, and Tranquil, and Carla, and on and on and on. Travis Kelce's not made himself available once after the game. Just gone. Disappears off the face of the earth. But then, hey, by the way, watch New Heights on Wednesday to hear what I have to say. Hey, look, man, if you're going to lay into your teammates and you're going to yell at guys for not getting the job done, I'm all for that. That's fine. But then you need to stand at the locker and be accountable and be a leader and be the guy you've been for the last decade and take the questions and say, hey, look, it's on me. I mean, I covered the game a couple of years ago for Sports Illustrated when the Chiefs lost to the Eagles on a Monday night. And that was a game everybody remembers MVS for dropping that deep ball. Kelce killed him in that game. He had a fumble at the 5-yard line. He had multiple mistakes. Kelce stood in his locker like a man and answered every question. I was in the Super Bowl locker room last year when they got blown out. Travis Kelce stood at his locker and answered every question. Well, where the hell are you this year? You don't get to yell and scream and pout and then make huge mistakes and then just walk away from it and cut an episode in New Heights and pretend like it's fine. It's not fine. Like, look, I only know Travis Kelce a tiny little bit about him on a podcast twice. I hear both times, I believe, on this show when I was with Fansided. I have a lot of respect for him personally and professionally. I really do. One of the nicest, most stand-up guys I've ever dealt with in the league. But that has not been the case for 3 weeks. He has not been a stand-up. He has been disappearing and letting everybody else answer questions about him and for him. And if you're going to do that and then combine it with playing terrible football, retire. Go home. Like, if you're not invested in it, look, man, there's no shame in it. Like, you got nothing to prove. Nobody's going to care. And you're going to get the loudest ovations on earth every year for the next 50 years at Arrowhead. But, like, if you're not going to play the way you need to play, if you're not going to be accountable the way you need to be accountable, then you're not a help to the team. And that's where we're at through 3 weeks of Travis Kelce.
Do you think that the off-field stuff is creeping in to maybe not? I don't think he's running around out there on the football field thinking about Taylor Swift, right? Like I
right,
don't think.
Sure, of course,
but,
right.
But is it impacting perhaps his level of focus and his care for the playing football? It's just not as important to him, perhaps, as it used to be.
I won't comment because I have no idea on anything involving his relationship. But what I would say is, I think that it's human nature. This is year 13. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He is indisputably a first ballot Hall of Famer. No one with a brain would argue that. I mean, that guy is waltzing into Canton 5 years after he retires. What does he have to prove? What is there to prove at this point? Like last year, they were going for a 3-peat. No team had ever done it. This year, I mean, I'm not saying the guy doesn't want to win football games. That's how he's wired. But do I think that it matters as much as it did maybe in 2019, or 2022 to get back to that mountaintop? No, probably not. And I could be wrong. I'm not Travis Kelce. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know him super well or anything. I have to imagine, though, from the perspective of any great athlete, it's got to be immensely frustrating to him that he now realizes, and he knows the truth, he is not the player he once was. He cannot do the things he once did. When Rice and Worthy are on the field, assuming they ever get on the field together, what is Travis Kelce as far as like option number what? He's not number one. He's not number two. I'd make a real argument if Thornton continues to play the way he's playing, he's not number three. He might not even be four with Brett. Like, you could make a reasonable argument that when they are at full strength offensively, he is the fifth best option in their passing game. That has got to be mentally devastating for a guy who his entire career, including when he shared a field with Tyreek Hill, was the number one option on that team for a decade and was the go-to guy for when they were winning Super Bowls. And let's also say this, literally, arguably, the greatest player ever in the postseason. Ever. Like, statistically, he is almost without peer. So I'm sure that's part of it too. It's probably immensely frustrating to sit there and just look in the mirror and go, I'm not who I once was. I never have to deal with that in my professional career, right? Like, I am a writer. I could sit here and as long as I'm breathing, like, I'm not going to just start to like deteriorate unless I lose my mind, which is potentially possible.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's got to be thinking at that Philly game, like, man, I bet I would have caught that pass 2 years ago. Like, I would have got my head around quicker. I would have had the reaction time. That, I think, is part of this. I think it's a frustration point for him. But again, I'm not him, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, I do worry about the off-field stuff in that I look, I don't know what it's like to be Travis Kelce or to do anything at that, such a high level that he's done. But like, I'm not trying to lose my job here, but I've been at FanSided since 2009. And there are 2 times since I've been here. I've always been passionate about this work. It's a great job. It's a fun job. But there have been 2 times where my focus at work has waned. The first time was after I came back after we had my son last year. And I was back. I was at work for 6 months, but like, I had trouble drumming up the same enthusiasm that I had because it was such a major life change happening that I was just distracted. Like I did my best. And after some months passed, I got re-engaged and I settled into this new rhythm. And the last time was just these last couple of weeks. You may have noticed I wasn't on the post-game show because I was doing a play for the first time in 17 years. And theater is something that I study. Is very important to me. And I was very focused on, like, one, when you got to go up in front of people and do lines and they paid money to see it, you don't want to screw it up. It's a scary thing, and so like the last 2 weeks at work, like I've been here, but I've definitely been checked out and just, and so I can understand where Travis is. All these things are going on in his career and the podcast and the accomplishments and stuff. And he, unlike me, he doesn't have to worry about money ever again for the rest of his life. I need to keep my job. If I'm not focused, I need to get focused because people are relying on me here, and so I can understand it can happen to people. And his focus just may not be there right now. And it's unfortunate because they need him. They need him to be that leader for them offensively. And if he's taking plays off and he's causing more trouble, more action on the sidelines than he is out on the field, that's not going to inspire some of these young guys to do what they need to do. And he knows it. He's a pretty honest guy. Like, he'll go on New Heights and be like, yeah, I should have caught that ball, So if that's what's going on, he knows it. And hopefully he can get it corrected and the Chiefs can get things back on track here. As they get the Ravens coming to town. Let's talk about that. From an injury report perspective, I just want to do the injury report, and then we're going to talk about the front office, and we're going to come back and preview this game officially. But just a quick note for everybody. Again, we're recording this Thursday afternoon. The Thursday report is not out yet, but for the Chiefs, relatively healthy. Only Mike Danna and Kristian Fulton were limited yesterday. Everybody else, long list of people. Mahomes has a wrist thing. That's kind of scary to hear, but everyone's participating fully, including Xavier Worthy. For the Ravens, though, it is not pretty. Travis Jones did not practice. Isaiah Likely's been on the shelf all year. He was limited. He's a foot injury. Mbikwe, great player for them, did not practice. I believe he's out, right?
He's
not
out.
going.
He was rolled out.
Yeah.
Justin Madubuike's out. Or Namdi. I'm sorry, changed his name. Namdi Madubuike is out.
Yeah.
He's out with a neck injury, which apparently, by the way, is a pretty scary injury. So hopefully he's all right long term.
Yeah. Patrick Ricard, their fullback, he did not practice. Ronnie Staley, their tackles, got an ankle injury, did not practice. Kyle Van Noy, one of their linebackers, did not practice with a hamstring. Broderick Washington with an ankle. Another defensive tackle for them did not practice. They've got 3 defensive tackles. I think they signed some guys as a practice squad.
They did.
Because they might need to put me and you out there.
Well, so they're out practicing as we're doing this right now. Travis Jones is back at practice. We'll see if it's limited or full. Everybody else is still out.
Yeah.
Everybody else is still out. Madubuike's been ruled out. Van Noy is expected to miss this game. Ricard is not has not played all season. I would be shocked if he plays in this game. Likely might play, but he's probably going to be on a snap count even if he does play. The same is true of Jair Alexander, who is coming back, and he's been coming back from a knee injury from what feels like 5 years now. They're immensely beat up coming into this game. And there is no two way. Listen, the Chiefs lose this game, I don't want to hear about Rice because he's about the only guy missing for the Chiefs. Everybody's missing for Baltimore up front defensively. Now, the question is, can the Chiefs ever take advantage of it and run for a foot? I have no idea. But I can tell you right now, the Ravens are going to have a hard time getting pressure in this game because Madubuike is by a mile their best front 4 guy. And then Van Noy is their second best guy. They have 3 sacks this year. Only the Titans and the Panthers have fewer sacks. Okay. The Ravens, it has been a severe struggle for them. They're the worst defense in the league, statistically speaking. They've got the most yards of anybody. They have been the 31st in points allowed. They are 30th in allowing first downs. They're 31st against the pass. They're 30th against the run. You name it. What do you want to talk? I mean, they're bad in all of it. You know, they are bad in every single category defensively. And that includes, as I just mentioned, their sack totals. They have 3 of them, and 2 of them belong to Madubuike. Okay? They have done nothing. You go to quarterback hits, Owe's got 5. He leads the team. Madubuike has 3. He's out for this game. Van Noy has 2. He's probably going to be out for this game. I mean, Mike Green, their rookie, he's got 2. He's been, kind of shuffled in and out. He's playing about half their snaps, 54% of the snaps. Obviously, you expect that to go up in this game. But the reality is they have not been good defensively, even when they've had all these guys. And now not having them, like, I understand they've played the Lions and Bills, and that's going to hurt your defensive ranking. Those played Cleveland, who can't score a point, can't move the ball. So, like, it kind of evens out a little bit here. They have been very good offensively. They have been a freaking disaster on defense. We'll see how it plays out. But, yeah, there's a very good chance. Look, Madubuike is out. There's a very good chance that Van Noy's out. Broderick Washington might be out. On and on and on. And it is a lot. It is a lot for that team to be missing.
We're going to get to our official preview in just a minute. But first, I wanted to talk about some of the front office. I don't want to call them – look, if you're a Chiefs fan, you don't have really anything to complain about. But that doesn't mean that the team does everything perfectly just because they've won a bunch of Super Bowls and drafted Patrick Mahomes. And there's some things that you look at the Chiefs right now and you say, man, I wish things were a little bit better. And one of the things that jumped out at me, I was reading Arrowhead Addict contributor Lyle Graverson, who's been on the show here, wrote a really interesting write-up about how the Chiefs are going to basically run Chris Jones into the ground, maybe sooner than they would hope. So check out his article. It's on arrowheadaddict.com right now. But are they doing this? So Jones is second in the NFL for snaps for an interior defensive lineman. And a lot of this is because, one, the Chiefs have needed him. These games have been close. But 2, they don't have anybody else on the interior of this defensive line right now that you can definitely point to and be like, yeah, this guy can give Chris Jones a blow. Whereas at least the Chiefs, they have Noah Gray. Like, he's not Travis Kelce, but he can play. He can be productive for them. What's your concern level on the interior defensive line outside of Chris Jones? And do you think the Chiefs are going to run him into the ground?
It was really high until I watched Norman Lott play against the Giants. and I watched Norman Lott pretty much just destroy the entirety of the interior of the Giants line. Now, look, the Giants' interior line stinks. Okay, so that is going to be different this week with a guy like Linderbaum at center, who's a very good player. Their guards are not great, but they're solid. Norman Lott is clearly not even an argument the second best defensive tackle on this team right now. Derek Nottie has no business being on the field. Okay, none. Jerry Tillery has no business being on the field. So I am very concerned with the depth of it, but Norman Lott actually looks like he can play. Like, my big takeaway after week 1 was, man, defensively, they do not have any athleticism. They look slow. They look very old. And then Norman Lott came back. Gelati started playing. Of course, part of that because Danna being out. Noel Williams started playing. All of a sudden, you're like, hey, that changed quick. Like, it sounds like nothing. 3 players. It's a third of your defense. Like, all of a sudden, you got guys with athleticism. Norman Lott's in there wrecking shop. He had 5 pressures against the Giants. You know that? And he was excellent against the run. He was awesome. So I'm worried about Jones in the sense that, look, he's in his 30s and they're going to ask him to do a ton. But on the flip side, hey, he's paid a fortune. He's, much is required of him. I think that he'll be all right, but I'm more concerned about how, will they just commit to Norman Lott, or is this going to be one of these things where they do the whole, Derek Nottie's a veteran. He's been on the team for 78 years. Just nail him to the bench and move on. But I think Norman Lott's development is huge.
Yeah, and just some of the numbers from Lyle's article, and like I said, it's a great read on arrowheadaddict.com. It says the Chiefs will regret running Chris Jones into the ground sooner than later. His usage snaps here. So I'll just read you this paragraph. Through 3 games, Chris Jones ranks second in the NFL in snaps by an interior defensive lineman with 163 snaps. He's played 85% of the Chiefs' defensive snaps so far. If that percentage of snaps keeps up, it would be the highest rate of Jones' career at age 31. Plus, it isn't just the percentage, but the total as well. He's on pace to play over 920 snaps through 17 games. That would be a career high, having previously topped 800 snaps only once before in 2022. His average total snaps over his first 9 seasons is 713. And then he's got his usage stats here. So from age 29, he had 741 snaps, 73%, with a 15% pressure rate. In 24, when he was 30, he played 771 snaps, 83% of the defensive snaps with a 13.6 pressure rate. 2025 at age 31 so far, 101 snaps, on pace for 920, 85% of the snaps with a 10.9% pressure rate. So you could say, is the pressure rate going down because he's playing so much and he's older? Is it going down just because he's getting older and that's just going to happen? I mean, what's your take on this? And do you see any relief for him, or are they just going to have to keep grinding him? I mean, and nobody feels bad for him. He gets paid a lot of money and all that. But for the Chiefs, for their prospects and wanting him healthy and fresh in the games that matter, how concerned are you?
I mean, I got to be honest. I'm not. In the sense, they're paying him a fortune. That's his job. He's got to go out there and play football. I don't really feel like, look, if I went and looked, and I'll do it right now here. Aaron Donald, okay, who along with Jones has been the preeminent defensive tackle of his era. Okay, so I'll pull up their snap counts and play them side by side and point to the fact that, look, you got to play when you're that good of a player. It's just, that's parcel. That's why he's getting paid. So Jones, let's just say the last 5 years. Okay, so he's age 27 seasons on. 68%, 80%, 73%, 83%, 85%. So somewhere between 68 and 85%. Here are Aaron Donald snaps, his age 27 season on. 90%, 84, 85, 90, 89, 81. Look, man, you're great. You're getting paid a ton of money. You're going to have to go out there and play a lot of football. That defense does not work without that guy. So I'm not saying don't get him off the field here and there, but if you're Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Dexter Lawrence, fill in the blank here for the D tackle. You like Myles Garrett plays a ton of snaps. Well, he's great. They need him. He's got him on the field. So I get it. I mean, Lyle's point's well taken, but I do think like, look, you've got to, he's secretariat for this defense. Like you got to play him. You just got to play him and hope that, everything works out all right. And if you can limit him in a blowout, in a game where you feel like you can get away with sitting him for 20, 25 snaps, yeah, that's great. Do it by all means. But yeah, I think you play him. I mean, they're going to need him, especially when the offense is as limited as it's been.
How much blame do you put on the front office for there not being, maybe we're going to get this in Norman Lott? I know this is some Matt Connor, the editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Addict, has been complaining about the defensive tackle depth for 5 years now. How much blame do you put on Brett Veach for not shoring up the position?
I mean, some, but like, again, I don't mean to go against everyone on earth here at Arrowhead Addict, but I mean, they just lost a defensive tackle because the guy got paid $17 million a year. Like, it's not like Turk Wharton left for the minimum. The guy got paid a fortune. I mean, the guy got paid huge money. They drafted that guy. They developed that guy. Now, if Norman Lott becomes a good player, how many teams around the league have 3 good defensive tackles? And how many of them, by the way, have a generational one? I mean, it's just hard, man. Like, I think sometimes people just believe that everybody on the team should be great. And that's not the way the league works. It's just not going to happen. You could argue for sure that they should have had an extra, like that their depth should be higher floor. I will hear that argument all day because I agree with that argument. Jerry Tillery and Derek Nottie stink. Okay. I'm not giving you any argument, but this is also a team. They play a Menahu inside. They play Danna inside at times. Like, those guys are DNs by trade, but they also play inside. And if you're counting those guys as rotating inside, that's pretty good. Like, if those are your 4 guys who are going to spend time at D tackle, that's pretty solid. I am not here to defend Brett Veach and say that everything's been perfect. But if you're starting defensive line, if Norman Lott is good, and it's him and Jones, and it's Karlaftis, and then fill in the blank on the other edge, whether it's Menahu, whether it's Gelati. There are a lot of teams in the NFL that sign for that. And there are a lot of teams in the NFL. But yeah, I'll take that. So, look, would I love for the Chiefs to have Chris Jones playing next to Dexter Lawrence? Sure. I'll give you, look, I'll tell you right now, depending on how everything shakes out with some of the investigation and whatnot. I mean, I'd sign Christian Wilkins for the Chiefs. He's healthy. I'd bring that guy in. But there's your 3-man rotation. But if he nailed the Norman Lott pick, it's kind of hard to really bitch about it. Like, you've got the best defensive tackle in football next to a really good young player in football or coming into the NFL. Yeah, I'd love for the depth to be a little bit better, but I could say that about 1 million positions on every team in the NFL.
Yeah, and it is, when you've got Chris Jones, that position just kind of becomes not as big of a primary concern for you when you've got Juju Smith-Schuster's corpse running around out there, and Patrick Mahomes has everybody to protect him. So you got to pick and choose. Shout out to Green for the super chat. Says, Patrick, we have beef. I know you wanted to start a family, and I love that for you, but I didn't sign up for you to only be here once a week, twice a week at minimum. Get it together. LOL. Appreciate the super chat and the kind words. Yeah, look, the kid actually hasn't been too much of an issue. It's that I went and auditioned for that damn play, and it's over now. So I'll be back. But that's why I wasn't here on Sunday, was because I was performing that afternoon, and I didn't know like when I'd be able to get to the game, and I didn't want to come on here and blow smoke up your ass like I had seen the whole game and all that stuff. So yeah, appreciate the kind words. I'm back. I'll be on the post game this week and most weeks from here on out. All right, let's move on to the running back position. This is one that I think a lot of Chiefs fans are frustrated with, because you had the injury to Pacheco last year. Kareem Hunt's old. You're going into this draft, and it's like, all anybody's talking about is it's the deepest running back draft ever.
Right.
And all the Chiefs fans are really excited. And you saw Cam Scadaboo, who's a guy they could have drafted in the middle rounds.
Yep.
I mean, that guy, you see what he did to Nick Bolton? Now, credit Nick Bolton. A lot of guys would have been on their ass, but that's a guy that, like, Dick, can you imagine him in this backfield running like that?
Right.
He can catch the football out of the backfield. There were a lot of good backs in this class. Did the Chiefs blow it here? The book is not written on Bashard Smith.
Yeah. I mean, like this to me is a much more fair criticism. They could have signed J.K. Dobbins for nothing. Like didn't they have him in for a visit last year? Like they're familiar with him. Did nothing. Didn't sign him. Whatever. Could have drafted any number of guys. Didn't do it. Like they just sat there. Now listen, there's also the argument to be made. Okay, well, would you rather have drafted a running back or Josh Simmons? Well, Simmons. Well, would you rather have drafted a running back or Norman Lott? If Norman Lott ends up being good, probably Norman Lott. Would you rather have drafted a running back or Gelati? We'll see. Would you rather have drafted a running back or Jalen Royals? Would you rather have drafted a running back or Noel Williams? So, like, who you willing to give up? Because you got to give up one of them. Then maybe you are. Maybe somebody out there says, hey, I'll take a running back over Gelati. Okay, that's fine. Like, I don't know what he's going to be yet. But it's hard to say that. Now, that being said, okay, they waited forever to address the position and didn't really address it. And that is a very fair critique that I think Brett Veach should wear. Like, they should have done more at the running back position. They did nothing. They sat on their hands. They knew the position sucked. They still sat on their hands. And now they're watching a bunch of guys who can't run at all try to gain yardage. And, like, look, the Chiefs offensively, if you look at a lot of the metrics, like the analytics, actually is good even in the run game. But the reason it's good in the run game is because of Mahomes. Pacheco's rushed for 3.7 yards per carry. His longest run is 10 yards. It's brutal. It's been atrocious. Kareem Hunt, every bit is bad. 3.5 yards per carry, 11 yards long. I mean, it's awful. It's been awful. They've both been awful. Mahomes has run for 10 first downs this year. The running backs have run for 12. All of them combined. Okay. I mean, it is an embarrassment how bad these guys are. And so in that sense, yeah, man, like I get it. I'll hear it. But I do think at some point, do you make a trade? Do you consider it? Like, I'd float a 6th round pick to the Saints for Kamara. Yeah. Maybe they want a 5th. Maybe you do a conditional thing. I don't know. But like, I think that is, of all the positions on this team, that is the one that I just say, look, I don't care what happens. Nothing in-house is fixing that mess.
No, it's very frustrating because it's your offense. Make things a little bit easier on Patrick Mahomes. Yep. Going into the season that you're not going to have Rashee Rice. That's something, you know what I mean? That he's probably going to get suspended. They knew that. So you don't want to be a Xavier Worthy injury away from being in the position that they're in right now in the passing game. Credit them for what they found in Tyquan Thornton. But I just think it was irresponsible. I think they should have made it happen. And there were some really good guys available when they were on the board. You mentioned Alvin Kamara. I've got an intriguing name here for you. What about Breece Hall? The Jets are a disaster. They have 3 running backs or 2 other running backs aside from Hall that they like. Hall can catch the ball out of the backfield. They misutilize him horribly. It's a circus over there. And they clearly, he had comments in the offseason basically said, I'm not their guy. So the Jets are going nowhere fast. If you're the Chiefs, do you want to go in for it and just solve this problem once and for all and maybe give up a higher pick to get a guy like a Breece Hall and bring him in and get him rolling?
To me, if you're giving up anything higher than a 5th round pick, you better sign that guy. That guy better be coming back.
If you trade for Breece Hall, you're signing him.
You better be. Because you trade for Breece Hall, it's probably going to be, I don't know, I would think a 4th or a 5th. And if you're giving up, and because of where the Chiefs may pick, it probably is a 4th. Like, you better sign him. He better be in house long term, right? At minimum for at least, this year and like 2 more. So, I'd personally rather just get Kamara and then go draft a guy next year. But that's the thing with the Chiefs. They've never invested in a running back outside of one time. And we all know when that was. And that was a freaking disaster. So I wonder how much of it is just they feel like we did that once. It was a train wreck. We'll never do it again. But I think that's shoddy. If they are thinking that way, and I don't know if they are. But if they are thinking that way, I think it's a shoddy way to think. Just because something didn't work out once doesn't mean you never do it again. right? Like I think that is a real way to limit yourself.
Yeah, I see Javier in the chat says he thinks Brees Hall's ass. I just completely disagree. I think the Jets are ass. Okay.
Oh,
the Jets,
that we all can agree on.
They stink. They have stunk the entire time he's there. They haven't had a quarterback. He was he had in 2023 he had 994 rushing yards and 591 passing yards. And it's not just one good year. In 2024 he had 876 rushing yards and 483 passing yards. Like, can you imagine? He's a talented running back. Put him in Andy Reid's system and remember what Kareem Hunt did before he had his incident and got cut from the team. Like, you have a guy that can pass block. You have a guy that can run. You have a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's done it on a garbage team where he was one of the – it's the same thing people like Garrett Wilson. Like, well, when's Garrett Wilson going to break out? Garrett Wilson's an amazing player. It's just like he's stuck in quarterback hell, in franchise hell with the New York Jets. And this
to
is,
bolster
this, just one more thing. You get a Brees Hall who's 24 years old. He's not going to be 25 until May 31st. And I think because he's not at 1,000-yard season, he's good. He's not going to be cheap, but he's not going to be crazy expensive either. If you sign him and lock him up, you sign him to a 4-year contract, and it works out. You are set at the right. You have to worry about it as long as he stays healthy for the foreseeable future. Now would be the time to pounce on a guy like that. But I think the typical Brett Veach move is he's going to trade for somebody like Jerome Ford for like a 7th round pick swap or something is what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, my guy would be Kamara, but I think Hall's interesting. Like I'll tell you what, both to your point about the Jets. I remember I was writing a story about Minnesota last year, and I talked to some people around the league, and I was like, look, like, what do you think's going on with Sam Darnold? One guy literally wrote back to me, texted back to me. He's like, he was on the Jets. Like, what else was going to happen? And I asked people about that around the league, and literally people were just like, well, yeah, they're like, no one holds that against them. Everyone understands how bad that organization is top down. And, maybe that'll change with Aaron Glenn. We'll see. But, like, at least at the time, when I wrote it a year ago, people were like, well, yeah, they're the Jets. They're terrible. They don't develop anybody. Look at that team. So, the question I have with the Chiefs is, like, if you go out and get a running back, you're going to use them? Or is it going to be one of these things where Andy's like, well, 8 carries?
Yeah.
No, man, like, you've got to use them and stuff. But the one thing I would say is, what is, like, here, I'll just ask you and see if we agree on this. When is the last time the Chiefs had a running back who was a legitimate difference maker?
It has to be Kareem Hunt. All due respect to Damian Williams, who had his moments, but nobody was like, we got to figure out how to stop Damian Williams. Like, it was Kareem Hunt.
Okay. We agree. So he led the league as a rookie in yardage, rushing yards. Second year, for people who say, well, he'll never get they don't carry. Here are his carries. Okay, he played 11 games with the Chiefs before they cut him. 16, 18, 18, 19, 22, 10 in a game they lost 43-40, so they're throwing like crazy. 15, 16, 17, 16, 14. So if I sat here and I just did really, really quick napkin math, okay, you're talking about what? 34, 52, 71, 93, 103, 118, 134, 151, 181 divided by 11. He was getting 16 and a half carries a game. That comes out to 280 carries for the season. Like, they will run the ball if they've got a guy who actually is a positive player for them. The problem is that guy doesn't exist on this team.
Right.
And by the way, last year, Kareem Hunt got a ton of carries for a huge chunk of the season when he was playing reasonably well. And of course, that was even more out of necessity than it was just like, hey, this is great. I saw Javier mention Pacheco had 2 900-yard seasons. Correct. And guess what? In those years, Pacheco, 2023, 8, 12, 15, 20, 16, 16, 13, 8, 16, 19, 15, 18, 11, 18. Like, if you're a good back, you will get 15 to 20 carries a game on the Chiefs. And I don't want a guy getting more than that because you have Mahomes. But, like, I do believe they will use a good running back. The problem right now is Andy's. Look, I've got a lot of problems with the way Andy's coached his team through 3 weeks. I don't blame Andy for looking at the backfield and being like, well, what the fuck? Why are we even wasting our time? We're just going to be in 2nd and 8. We're good. Now, look, I would argue maybe Andy should take a lesson from the Giants game and get under center and run the ball a little bit more. Maybe they should do some stuff that is more power scheme because their offensive line can block power. They're actually really good at it. But they love to do this like zone block. There's a lot of inside zone out of shotgun, and it's a friggin' disaster. Like, they need to get Mahomes under the center and say, we are going to run power, combo blocks, run duo. That's how they need to play. But they don't want to do that because they haven't done it for a while. Well, it's got to change. And I think if that changes, like, I'm telling you guys something right now. Baltimore's missing half the defensive line this game. If I were the Chiefs, I would get under center and I would pound them with double teams all game long. Here's Creed and Trey Smith. Say whatever you want about Kingsley. He's a good run blocker. I would get him down, pad level down, 2nd level, boom, blow some guy out of the hole. Simmons, blow some guy out of the hole. Like, to me, that's what that's if I were the Chiefs in this game, that's how I would play. I would try to double team and combo them and duo them to death in this game. And just have Mahomes under the center and then play action off that to a bunch of guys who run 4.240s. But I'm not Andy. I'm not calling the game.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the speed that Simmons got up to when he made that incredible tackle.
It's insane.
And you've got, and the one thing Kingsley can do really well is maul people and run block. Can you imagine being a linebacker and seeing Simmons, Kingsley, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith coming at you? Like, that's a problem. It gets a problem. And when the Chiefs do get under center, they never pass the ball. They almost always run it. So that's not doing you any favors either. And did you see what happened to the Chiefs defense in the first game of the season when they thought for sure the Chargers were going to come out and try to run the ball 40 times? And it was just play action, wide open guy, play action, wide open guy, play action, wide open guy. Do you know what the Chiefs could do if Mahomes actually had the threat of a running game and was running play action? But they don't. When they get under center, they're going to run it. So don't even worry about play action. I think they need to reconfigure things. I'm with you. And I don't know why going into the season when they knew they didn't have any wide receivers and Royals was hurt and all that stuff, why they didn't just come out and try to run some power, which, Pacheco might not need to find as many, might not need his vision as much. If you knock a guy over, just run there.
That's part of it. Like, look, Pacheco, everybody's talked about it. It's not a secret. We all understand that Isaiah Pacheco is not Walter Payton in the vision department. Okay, like we all get that. But instead, if for anyone who doesn't understand, so when you're running zone read type, when you're running zone blocking scheme, which is what the Chiefs do a lot of times, these inside zone runs. If you're Pacheco, you're trying to read that as you're approaching the line. You're blocking an area, and then the back has got to read, make a cut. If you're running a power scheme, hat on a hat, man blocking scheme, Pacheco's just getting the ball up the field, gone. See you. Maybe, one cut and go. That's it. Like, that's all you're doing. If I'm the Chiefs, Pacheco runs a 4.3940. Like, I want him just, hey, man, put your foot in the ground, go. The other thing, too, is a lot of running backs will tell you, when you're running out of the gun, it's very hard because you have no starting point. Like, you're standing still and then the ball's in your belly and you got to go. When you line up 7 yards behind the quarterback, it doesn't sound like a lot. That's 20 feet, 21 feet. Like, that is, you've got a good head of steam going at that point. If you see a hole as you're approaching the line, you can really hit it. So I really think the Chiefs get under center, but also to your point, listen, play action off of that. You got guys who can run like, use that to your advantage. I really wonder in this game if they're going to do that with all the injuries up front with Baltimore. Now, saying that, look, I wouldn't be shocked if Andy comes out and throws 65 times. But I that's, at least in my mind, the best way to attack this team.
Let's get to this Ravens game. Chiefs underdogs at home.
Yep.
2.5-point underdogs, according to DraftKings. Over under in this game, they're expecting a little bit of points, 48.5. So you mentioned it. It's sort of strength on strength at this point. The Chiefs offense stinks, but the defense has been playing well, and the Ravens defense stinks, but they can score. Chiefs done a good job against Derrick Henry traditionally. But this is a tough offense to stop because of Lamar. He's unbelievable. He's throwing the ball better than he ever has. And he just, even if you do everything right, he might run around, shrug off a couple of tackles, and then find somebody wide open. Chiefs have not been playing well. Ravens haven't been playing great, but they've been playing better than the Chiefs, in my opinion. Do you think the Chiefs are cooked in this game?
No, I actually think the Chiefs are going to win the game. I think the Chiefs, quite frankly, like, look, and not because, they beat the Giants and they're back. I think sometimes we judge teams off of their offensive performances. The Ravens are a fucking disaster on defense. Has anyone watched the Ravens this year? They're 32nd in the league in yards allowed, 31st in points. And this is a team that played Cleveland. I really think in this game, especially if Worthy plays, I think the Chiefs can do a lot to them in this game, honestly. Like, say whatever you want. The Chiefs have played three very competent defensive teams so far. Chargers are very good defensively. The Giants have a very, very good front four. Philadelphia, I get it. You can say, well, stops and starts. Philadelphia has played well defensively by and large this season. The first half against the Rams made it kind of sort of notwithstanding. I think this is by a mile the worst defense the Chiefs have played. I do not think all of a sudden the Chiefs are going to go out and score 34 points. I'm not saying that. But, I saw like Starcade Media tweet out this quote from Danna of ESPN. He said, I trust the Ravens. The Ravens have the better roster. The Chiefs are a below average offense, and the quarterback is carrying every bit of the weight. The Ravens are the better team. The Chiefs are just swimming uphill right now offensively. I agree with a lot of what he said there. Like right now, the Ravens, listen, they do, I think, have a better overall just 53-man roster. But if you're taking all these guys out who are missing in this game, I don't know that they necessarily do all of a sudden. Like now you've got a lot of guys out. And here's the other thing. Since Mahomes and Lamar became the starting quarterbacks of their respective teams in 2018, the Chiefs are 5-1 against them. They've owned them. They beat them every time they play them. The only game they lost, they should have won. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball, and they were setting up for a game-winning field goal. Look, the Ravens are on a short week on the road. Like, there's a part of me that's just, I look at this game, and it's like, if the Chiefs can curtail the run game, which they've been very good at, by the way, to this point in the season, and you put McDuffie on Flowers, what do they do? Where are they going? Like, I could also sit here, for everyone who says, well, the Ravens, look at how great they've been offensively. They were not good against Cleveland. Everyone looks at the scores as all 41 points. They had 200 yards of offense in that game. And in the other two games, they played the Bills, who can't stop the Dolphins. And they played the Lions, who gave up 24 points until garbage time and sacked him 7 times. Like, I think the Ravens are a good team, a very good team. But I also find it odd that there's just this thought process that, like, the Ravens are so much better than Kansas City. Why? Based on what? They have the same record. They're horrendous defense. As bad as the Chiefs' offense has been, if you said to me, what is the worst unit in this game? How is it any argument that it's not Baltimore's defense? They're atrocious. They can't stop anything. And if you said to me, what's the best unit in the game, I'd probably say Baltimore's offense, but then I would say the second one is Kansas City's defense. Like, I think Kansas City has I think Kansas City's defense has a better chance of holding up in this game than Baltimore's defense does. And that is with the fact that Chiefs have looked like ass offensively for 3 weeks. I understand the concern, the trepidation, and they could absolutely lose this game. But looking at it, I don't think nearly enough is being made of the fact the Ravens can't stop anybody. I mean, everybody and their mother just goes up and down the field on them. And with Worthy coming back and all the injuries the Ravens have, I actually like the Chiefs in the spot. I really do.
It's interesting. You mentioned that Cleveland game. Now, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL so far. They've been incredible. And you look at the final score of that one, 41-17, like Ravens rolled. The Browns, whose offense, as you mentioned, has been atrocious with Joe Flacco at quarterback.
Horrific beyond words. Yeah.
The Browns offense put up 323 yards of total offense against this Ravens defense. The Ravens only had 242 against the Browns. The Browns had 72 plays to the Ravens 53. Now, eventually, the Ravens overwhelmed Cleveland in the second half. They scored 30 21 points, but it was 10-3 at halftime. So this was a game until the fourth quarter when the Ravens scored 21 points and pulled away. So if the Chiefs can take a step forward offensively, and they're going to have the opportunity to against this Ravens defense, well, then it starts to change your opinion of this matchup. And I think sometimes we get a little caught up in the early season narratives, and it's important to remember that what you've seen over the course of these first 3 weeks of the NFL season, some of it's a mirage, and you don't know really what is and isn't a mirage until later. Remember last year, the Saints offense, the first 2 weeks of the season?
Yes.
It was air raid, like bombs away. They stunk because teams come out with some stuff. And once everybody figures out what they're doing, it's whether or not you're actually talented or not. And so, I think there are going to be some things that we're going to learn about all of these teams, including these two this weekend, that maybe we haven't seen yet because it's early in the season. They don't play as much preseason. They don't practice like they used to.
I'd also point out, too, you mentioned that Ravens game when they played the Browns. Okay, take out the kneel downs at the end. The Ravens had 11 offensive possessions in this game. You look at the score, all 41-17. Here's the Ravens drive chart in that game. 6 plays, 16 yards, punt. 8 plays, 24 yards, field goal. 3 plays, 2 yards, punt. 2 plays, 24 yards, touchdown. 3 plays, 6 yards, punt. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. 3 plays, 6 yards, punt. So far, 10 points in the first half. We're at halftime now. The Ravens, their scoring drives were both 24 yards. Okay. Then we get into the third quarter. 7 plays, 51 yards, field goal. That's the first meaningful drive they've had the entire game. And in 3 points, they bogged down inside the red zone. Then they get off of an interception, 4 plays, 5 yards, touchdown. So then they've gone 5. So far, they have 20 points in this game. 20 points. They've gone a grand total of like 104 yards. Fourth quarter, only drive of the whole game to do anything of actual note. 10 plays, 66 yards. Nice drive by them. Touchdown. Okay. Then the Browns, they have a fumble, and it gets returned on a scoop and score for a touchdown. Then the Browns are going for it because they're on 34-10. They give the ball to the Ravens at the 36-yard line. Ravens go 3 plays, 36 yards, touchdown, then they kneel on it. The Ravens had one drive on 11 opportunities of over 60 yards in that game and 2 over 50. Like, the idea that, the Ravens have just been this dominant offensive, it's not true. Like, yes, they have overall, they have played well. But even the Lions game, like, if you go back and look at that football game, it's fine. It's not bad. Like, I'm not trying to make it out like they didn't do well in the game. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they had 318 yards of offense. 318 yards of offense is not crazy. And some of that came when the Lions were basically just laying back and allowing them to do it because they were up 2 scores. Like, if you go and look, so team statistics, total yards this year. So 318 yards, that sounds like, it's a pretty good day. You know what team is averaging 316 yards? The Chiefs, who have no offense, are averaging 316 yards. So basically what the Lions allowed the Ravens to do is an average day for the Chiefs. Like, and if you look at that drive chart, without going through the whole thing, so I won't do that. I don't want to bore anybody. At the end of the game, they had a 65-yard drive that meant nothing. So before they had that final drive of the game that meant absolutely nothing, they had roughly 250 yards of offense. It's not like the Ravens. Everybody saw week 1 and saw them destroy a Bills team that Miami then went to Buffalo and was like going blow for blow for 55 minutes. Outside of that game, the Ravens offense has kind of been the last 2 weeks. It has not been awesome. It has not been dominant. It has been very much and the defense has been out and out horrific. So look, the Ravens deserve respect. But the thing I don't understand about this is why the Chiefs seemingly get none, despite the fact the Ravens have done nothing the entire time Lamar Jackson's been the quarterback of this team, and the Chiefs are a dynasty. I just find it very odd how those two teams are categorized, even when you look at the Ravens and go, yeah, I mean, they're 1-2 and they have the worst defense in the NFL.
You know, it's funny. You remember early Mahomes years, and the Chiefs were they were often looked at as a kind of powerhouse, but like finesse offense, a finesse team.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you hear opponents talk about, hey, you need to smack these guys in the mouth. They're not, if you can out physical them, that's how you beat them. Well, funny enough, the Ravens, whose calling card for a decade plus has been toughness, defense. What happened to them in that game against the Detroit Lions was they got punched in the mouth on both sides of the football. And that's why the Lions won that game. They ran down their throats 38 times for 224 yards. David Montgomery had 151 yards on 12 carries. And on the offensive side of the ball, Lamar Jackson got sacked 7 times for 55 yards in that game. Now, the Chiefs don't have Aiden Hutchinson over there, but they do have Chris Jones. And I think if the Chiefs can come out in this game and out physical the Baltimore Ravens, I think that's their best shot, because this is a team that just got beat up last week. It was a late game. And so, this is an opportunity for the Chiefs to, especially while they're a little bit undermanned, to establish a little bit of an identity and get after the Ravens and not be afraid and blitz the crap out of him and get the pressure, because they've not been getting pressure on their own. And maybe actually try to run the football. I don't know. Maybe. Because this team is beat up.
I think if you're the Chiefs, look, you don't alter just wildly who you are. They legitimately might have a second string defensive line in this game. Like, if you don't try to take advantage of that, it's malpractice. And to me, again, get under center and run power. Just do it. I mean, go watch the Lions. Now, the Lions have running backs the Chiefs couldn't even dream of having. I understand all that. I got to tell you, but the Chiefs' offensive line can block. Like, they actually can. Like, this is, to me, I don't care who you are. If you're a running back and there's a hole the size of Kansas, like, you're going to get something out of it. Even if Gibbs gets 10 and Pacheco's getting 6, that's a lot of yards. Like, that's still, you need to do that. Because the one thing with the Ravens, man, if they can't stop the run, they got a problem in this game, because they have had no pass rush. And if they can't just pin their ears back and go after Mahomes, one thing we all know about Mahomes, he could be throwing to me. If he's got a bunch of time, he's finding somebody. Something good's going to happen. So, look, I think this is a weird game in this sense. Everybody's looking at it like these are the same two teams. It's not. The Ravens are missing a ton of guys. And Worthy's coming back for Kansas City. It changes a lot of things about these two teams, and it all favors Kansas City. I'm not saying they're definitely going to win. I expect it to be a very tight game. But the Chiefs 2 weeks ago should have beaten Philadelphia. Philadelphia is better than the Ravens right now. Like, what argument is there that they're not? If the Eagles played the Ravens, would you not take the Eagles right now? Like,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course you would. The Chiefs should have won that game. So I just have a lot of hesitation of this idea that Baltimore's some big bad juggernaut coming in there when the Chiefs kick their ass every time they see him. Every time. Including, by the way, an AFC title game where MVS, Sky Moore, and Richie James were the main characters. Okay? Like, yeah, I think they can, or at least some of the main characters. Obviously, Kelce had a big game that day. But yeah, I think the Chiefs, who held them to 10 points that day, can absolutely go out and win. I do. I believe they beat them last year. They held them to 20 points last year.
And if they run, and credit to the Lions, because they know Jared Goff's good quarterback. He's got some limitations. And in this game, they ran the ball 38 times. They passed it 28. But Jahmyr Gibbs, who's great, he only averaged 3 yards per carry in this game. But the Lions, and his longest run sounds a lot like the Chiefs, 9 yards. Okay? So they stuck with it. Now they use him in the passing game, 5 for 32. They stuck with the run. They didn't panic because Gibbs wasn't blowing the doors off it. They stuck with it. And they made things a little bit easier on their quarterback who has limitations. The Chiefs has some limitations in the passing game. Even with Worthy back, he's going to be his first game of the season. He's going to be wearing a harness of some kind. I don't know how that's going to impact him mentally. Timing with Mahomes might not be there right away. So you don't want a bunch of incompletions. Run the ball a little bit, get some play action going, and keep yourself in this game. And I think the Chiefs have a shot. You've almost sold me. I don't think I'm going to pick them here in just a second, but you've got me considering it. And let's get to that. Let's get to our predictions for this one. Let us know in the chat what you think. How do you think this one's going to turn out? Verderame, final score, Ravens at Chiefs.
I think it's like 20, 24-20, Kansas City. I really do. I think they're going to win. I picked against the Chiefs against the Eagles. I thought they'd lose. They did. I thought they'd beat the Giants. So far, I'm 2-1 on my predictions. I was right. I thought they beat the Chargers. I still think if Worthy had played in that game, they would have beat the Chargers, but he didn't. So fine, it is what it is. Baltimore, like Buffalo gets a lot of credit, and Buffalo's never done anything of huge note, but like they win a lot of playoff games. I've never in my life ever seen a team get more credit for doing nothing than the Ravens. They win a bunch of regular season games, they go to the playoffs, and they fall apart every year. They somehow left Buffalo after a colossal meltdown, and people were like, man, look how great the Ravens are. The Ravens gave up 251 yards passing in a quarter. Like, all right, sure, I guess. Like, I think the Ravens are very talented. I think they will be there at the end. I also think as they currently sit, I think they're overrated. Like, they're just not. Look, Jackson's great. Henry's great. Flowers has been really good. Name one other player on the entire team that's been really good. Who is it? Their offensive line just gave up 7 sacks. Bateman and Andrews, neither one of them have 10 catches this year. Justice Hill's done nothing. Defensively, I mean, individually, sure, Kyle Hamilton's an incredible player. As a unit, they are dead last in football. 32nd in yards allowed, 31st in points. They've been bad in the red zone. They've been bad on third down. They've been bad against the pass. They've been awful against the run. They don't get any pressure. They also don't get any sacks. I just look at them and say right now, Kansas City, despite all their issues offensively, I think Worthy coming back is the tipping point. I think they win this game 24-20.
I hope you're right. For me, it comes down to, can the Chiefs offense that showed up in the second half of that Giants game show up for an entire game? Because sure. I think if they start that way, they'll be in a rhythm, and I think they can hang. Because I think no matter how, and look, I have big questions, right, about the Chiefs still, and so this is will my questions be answered prediction. I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one, 27-21, and I think it's because I'm not sold on this Chiefs defense yet. I thought they looked atrocious against the Chargers. Maybe you want to wipe that out first game of the season. Fine. The Eagles, they did a pretty good job against the Eagles, but the Eagles offense is wonky, right? They did a good job on Saquon, but it's wonky. They don't, they win ugly a lot of times. They don't air it out unless they have to, and they won that game. So was that the Chiefs or was that the Eagles being wonky? Then you get last week. Russ is terrible. He's been benched. Okay. Cam Scadaboo is a rookie, gets his first meaningful action and racked up a ton of yards against this Chiefs defense. I'm having flashbacks to the Seattle preseason game where they ran all over the Chiefs. And I'm looking at Derrick Henry standing across there, Lamar Jackson running, younger players in the secondary. I have big questions. I think they will get answered after this game, because if the Chiefs do a good job against this Ravens offense, if they hold Derrick Henry down and they keep Lamar in the pocket and they limit some of those big plays that he's able to generate by scrambling around back there like Big Ben, then I'm feeling a lot better about the Chiefs moving forward, even if they lose this game, because I'll feel like, hey, the offense is legit and the offense is going to figure it out before too long. But for right now, I think the Ravens have been scoring a boatload of points, even against Cleveland's defense eventually. So, and I haven't seen it yet from the offense. So I'm going to go 27-21 Ravens. Hope I'm wrong. And look, if the Chiefs do those things, if the offense plays like it did in the second half of the Giants game and the defense is what I hope that it is, but I don't know if I believe it yet, then I think your outcome is perfectly possible. But we'll see. This is the second time I've picked against them this year, which is a bummer because I might maybe did that twice, in the last 2 years, but it is what it is. They got some things they got to prove to me.
We're going to find out, but I honestly think Baltimore is a touch. I think Baltimore gets the benefit of a lot of doubts for a team that has never won anything meaningful in the last decade.
Yeah, they are like they're like the modern version of Marty's Chiefs in the 90s. Like great in the regular season, and then they never go anywhere. And as Gary points out in the chat, we have stopped Derrick Henry before. Yeah, I think if they'll try to stop Derrick Henry. Like I think that's what they will do, and it's can that secondary hold up when Lamar is running around, because I haven't seen the pass rush that I want to see from the Chiefs. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. Went a little long. Appreciate you so much. Thank you to all of our members. Check out the link in the description if you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. We'll be in the private Discord tonight, watching Thursday Night Football, hanging out. And, of course, we'll be there on Sunday for the Chiefs pregame show and halftime show and postgame show. So we'll be right back here on Arrowhead Addict. Verderame, you got anything coming out at Sports Illustrated people should check out?
Yeah, listen, I had the rookie power rankings out. There's a Chief in there. You can imagine who that guy is. I have my Friday preview file coming out where I talk about the 5 best games of the week. Can be 5, can be 6. In this case, it's 5. Chiefs Ravens, of course, is mentioned in that game. I write in detail about it. And then Sunday, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I write every single Sunday. You can follow that and read it on SI.com.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to producer Richard for getting this thing running. Thank you to Sports Illustrated's Matt Verderame. We'll see you tomorrow for Freaky Friday. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.